now, there's a rally in support of a high-speed rail line linking London and the north. It's taking place in Barker's Pool in Sheffield city centre today. Sheffield City Council are backing government plans to build the link, saying that it's got the potential to bring jobs and money into the city. The plans are still at the consultation stage. Our Jen has been looking at them in more detail.
The High Speed 2 proposal, very different from the East Coast High Speed proposal, would see the construction of a new Y-shaped network of superfast rail lines. The initial line would run between London and the West Midlands, with 2 onward legs being built later, one to Leeds and the other heading west to Manchester. Intercity services currently run at around 125 miles per hour. The high-speed 2 line is expected to run 400-metre-long European-sized trains at speeds of up to 225 miles per hour. That'll allow you to get from Sheffield to London in about an hour. All aboard? Well, there is opposition to the proposal, with claims the new line would only benefit big businesses based in London, also claims there are no real environmental benefits, and, of course, there's always the problem of where the money will come from, estimated at around £32 billion to fund the massive project. Oh, and don't get too excited. The new line's not expected to fully open for another 15 years in 2026.
Brilliant. I'll not hold my breath. Listening to that are 2 people with very different views on the plan. We've got Adam Raphael from the Yes campaign, who were in Sheffield this lunchtime, and Joe Rukin from the No camp. He's from Say No to HS2. Good morning, Adam. Firstly, tell us what's happening in Sheffield today.
Well, I'm not there. I'm in London, but there's going to be a big bus, big campaign, big rally, local supporters, showing actually that this is quite a popular campaign. It is, because it's going to bring jobs, prosperity, money to badly needed areas right throughout Britain. I mean, the fact is, where I live in the southeast, we're hugely overpopulated. All the development has been concentrated here, all the money's been spent here. It's about time, actually, that regional development and prosperity was spread throughout Britain.
And will this do that, or will it just mean that people can still work in London, still have the big money, but have cheaper houses and live up here?
No, it will do it. And, I mean, the proof of that is if you look at the continent of Europe, which is going to be crisscrossed by these lines by 2030. But, I mean, the lines that are already there have shown that actually that does produce regional development. With the lines in France, in Germany, in Spain, they all have produced solid results. I mean, these countries aren't fools either. I mean, you know, the idea somehow they're just spending lavish money on this lavish projects, well, that's rubbish. They've actually produced solid results, and they've done it because it brings prosperity to their countries. Japan, which has done it for 50 years, 60 years ahead of us, they have produced huge results. Now, it's always said, of course, that these countries are totally different in size. Well, they're not. Actually, Japan is very similar in size to Great Britain, and it was small, narrow cities in roughly straight lines. Frankly, none of the arguments of the antis stack up.
Well, yeah, but I mean, France is much bigger, and of course the big cities there have much stronger regional identities than we do here, and much kind of, much stronger trading identities than our cities do here.
Well, I think
and it's twice, 3 times as big.
That may be true, but I mean, that's about time we started to reverse that. We should have these big, important centres in the north and in Scotland. It's crucial that we do so. The idea somehow you just concentrate development in the southeast, that's all wrong. And anyway, you can't do it because it's just totally over-congested, and you just run out of space and time and places.
And is it worth £32 billion?
Well, the point about the money is that the Secretary of State has already stated that once the line is built, it's going to be leased out to private enterprise. Well, there's going to be a huge amount of money come back. So the idea that it's a net $35 billion, and that's the end, that you just lost that money, you haven't at all. You've got a huge, valuable asset which will be bid for by private capital. In my view, it's a much more sensible way. You could have got private capital in from the very start to build the wretched line, but actually it's probably more sensible for the government to do all the planning, permissions and all the line and all the initial investment, and then sell it off to the highest bidder. You could do it, if you wanted to sell it off for 1,000 years, you could probably make 2 or 3 times what you actually spent on it. But no, quite rightly, they're going to sell it off for perhaps 30 years to a contractor, but it'll raise a huge amount of money. I don't know how much, because it's obviously difficult to tell, but it could raise certainly 50-60% of the cost of the line.
Adam, thank you. Joe Rukin is from the Stop the HS2 campaign. Morning, Joe.
Morning, Toby.
What have you got against it, Joe?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head when you were saying at the start. It's just going to encourage more people to go to London. That's what it's for. The Sustainable Development Commission, which the government's actually abolishing in the cuts, besides saying it wasn't sustainable, said it will mean putting in a massive, massive ongoing subsidy to something which will only benefit the richest in society. And our argument can be crystallised into the fact that there's no business case, there's no environmental case, and there's clearly no money to pay for it. You have this rally today where there'll be an open-top bus and you'll see the political and business elite from South Yorkshire turn up. The bloke you've just had on, I really don't know what planet he's on, because you look at what's happened with High Speed 1, that cost well over budget. The company itself went bust. We had to bail it out, and it's been flogged off for about a quarter at cost. Private enterprise is not going to pay for this. Muggins is going to pay for this, and then a business is going to get to clean off the profits from it. But that's the way it works, and I'm sure your listeners know that that's the way it works.
That being the case, I mean, I see, to be honest with you, because I know lots of people who work in London and hate living down there. I can see if they're an hour away from it, then they'll all move to Crooks and catch the train into London. I can appreciate that's going to happen. Is that a good enough reason, though, to campaign against it? Surely, if we can get to London...
Oh, God, yeah. Well, this is the thing. They're trying to make out ridiculous ideas like it's going to cure... It's this magic wand that's going to cure the North-South divide. And it isn't. Because what it's going to do is it's just going to mean more and more stuff gets sucked towards London. You said in your report you've got to wait till 2026. That's until it gets to Birmingham, I'm afraid. But it's going to put, according to Philip Hammond, it's going to put Birmingham in Zone 3 of the Underground. But it ain't going to be a Zone 3 ticket. And that's exactly what it's for. It's for people who earn that much money that they have to live in London, have to work in London because that's where the job is, but they have enough money that they don't have to live there, and they definitely don't want to live there. And that's who this is for. It's for no one else. And I cannot understand at this time. I'm not sure what cuts you're having in South Yorkshire, but up and down the first stage of the line, it's all the same sort of stuff. It's libraries, it's police stations, it's youth clubs. You're looking at cuts in the NHS as well, all up and down the line. And we've got no money for that, apparently, but we have got this money for a fast train for fat cats. And it is just ridiculous. It's pandering to exactly the same people who got us into this mess in the first place. And the idea that it's going to regenerate, and, look at France. Well, I'd say look at Lyon and look at Lille. They've got high-speed rail. Look at their unemployment figures. It hasn't exactly done them a great deal of good. And I just don't see it. I don't see anything what they're coming out with. The Transport Select Committee, the Parliamentary Transport Select Committee, had an independent report come to them last week, which they commissioned, which basically backed up everything that we have been saying for the last year and a half, which is we're not sure about the benefits. If there are any benefits, they're just going to go to London. Like, they're talking about 44 billion quid's worth of benefits. 38 billion of that benefit, 88% of the benefit, comes out of the calculation for time is money. It's the cash value of time. That's how they've said the figures. They've said that everyone who goes on a train, all the time on a train, is wasted. So if you've ever seen someone on a laptop on a train, you're wrong. That doesn't happen, according to the Department for Transport.